It seems insane how much prep I've done. In just under a week, I turned 30 years old. To celebrate, I'm making myself a set of nails. I learned a lot in my 20s, but perhaps most recently, that with practice and consistency, you can master just about any skill. So I'm putting that theory to the test, and I spent over 15 hours planning, testing, designing, painting, and even making 150 sprinkles to create these birthday cake nails. I have a hard time freestyling off the top of my head, so I like to work from a visual mood board, and I'll generally make that in Pinterest. The photos I save to the mood board reflect the shape, color palette, texture, and elements I want to represent on the nails. And once I have that mood board together, I move on to mapping out my design in my nail planner. I often find myself prioritizing balance in a set of nails, so the way I achieve this is by laying out all the design elements first and then evenly distributing them across the nails. Sometimes I'll use this nail planner in Procreate, but when I have it printed out, I will pull the exact gels I'm going to use and swatch them right onto the paper itself. I have a rough outline of what I think this set might look like. And then I like to lay out the elements before I even put them onto any nails. Next step is to test out making some of these elements to see how they look, because sometimes, I'm going to make it with maybe clay or Embo powder, and it doesn't end up working out and I need to pivot. And I'd rather figure that out now than like halfway through making the nails. So I'm going to be using my clays. I'm going to test these out. I'm going to try using polygel textured icing. I'm going to use the cake mold, which I normally want to make things by hand, but I've recently let that go. Make some stuff by hand, use tools where you need to, just be smart about it. I think that's okay. I've come to terms with that. For now, I'm going to make sprinkles out of the clay, textured icing nail with the polygel, cherries out of some toy gel, the 3D cake charm using this mold, and some jewelry resin, and then I'm going to paint it. There's more to test than I realized, but we're gonna start with trying to make some mini maraschino cherries. So my goal with the cherries is for them to look really realistic. And I think the thing about maraschino cherries is they have this like translucency to them, but they're also almost neon in color. And what I'm gonna do is maybe mix a little bit into the actual clear gel and then have a little bit on top so they look really juicy and quite real. I'm going to use these as the cherries on the actual set itself, so I'm just going to set these aside. We're going to make the mini charm cake now. The important thing here is going to be making sure we don't get any bubbles. I moved on to making the sprinkles, which I severely underestimated how long this would take me. I ended up mixing each color by hand to get the tone I wanted, and then rolling them each individually, and they got stuck to everything because they were so tiny. Alas, here I am, a sprinkle making machine. Good morning. As I mentioned yesterday, I was trying out some different techniques, and I'm going to show you these test nails in confidence because they're totally a mess. They're entirely sloppy, but I think so many people will like see a final set and think, oh my gosh, how did they do that? I can never do that, etc., etc., all the things you tell yourself in your head. It's just so essential to be like, hey, look how, messy these are, how sloppy these are. And what a shame it would be if I just told myself like, oh, these are terrible, I should just abandon these set now. Instead of learning some lessons, taking away what worked and what didn't, and then reapplying it. Major takeaways are, I'm obsessed with this piping technique I'm going to put her Instagram handle on the screen. The cake is low-key really hard to paint, so I'm going to have to be a bit meticulous with that. I really like the polygel icing tip, but I just don't think it's going to fit the vibe of this like retro nail set that I'm going for. Speaking of test nails, these nails I posted recently on Instagram, and I had so many very sweet comments being like, oh my gosh, so smooth, I could never get it that clean, blah, 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 blah. When I tell you, there was like 8 test nails. I tried pigment powder, I tried a floating technique, I tried airbrush, and finally, after doing this same floating technique, like, I don't know, 5 times on 5 different nails, I finally got the hang of it. Practice, 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 practice. I made 150, it doesn't even look like 150, but like 10 of each color sprinkles yesterday. I did not enjoy the process, but I really wanted these kind of like classic little ball looking sprinkles. All that to say, I'm going to take what I learned, reapply it for drawing the final set up in my Procreate on my iPad. And then once that's drawn up, I can get on to actually painting the nails. And at that point, I'll have like my charms made, I'll know the techniques I'm using, I'll know the exact design I'm doing, and the painting process itself runs generally much smoother.
Get out the way, who got a watch, who got the time, I'm racing the clock. Even in my feelings, grind don't stop. Got big dreams, want big rocks. I got plans, you got talk. Heard it's real cheap, but it's really gon' cost. I'm trying to get these ends, building empires with my friends. I'm about handling my business, no time for stress over bush. You think success is a...
Do we see the vision? This is a good enough map to get started. I'm now realizing, like, I understand this this seems insane how much like prep I've done. But I think just because I'm still so new to nails, I need to do the test nails. I need a map or I flounder. I am going to pull on my supplies, I'm going to get set up, and then I'm going to start painting. If you've watched any of my videos before, you will know the drill. So I'm going to file these, etch them, and then we'll move on to the base layer.
Take it away, feeling too good to me. Chilling all day, all in your space is where I wanna be. Here in this room, what did you do? I just can't get enough. Too caught up in your love. I've been trying to forget, but you won't let me.
Okay, quick note about my birthday. My husband very kindly got me a TNA sweatsuit, and the pants came in early. When I tell you, I have not taken these things off. This is all I make nails in now. I kind of stumbled upon this technique while making these nails, but with pearl gels you can see the brush strokes, and so I used it to my advantage and made it look like icing, and it turned out kind of cool. This product is a very hard sculpting gel that I mixed with color gel to make the piping icing texture.
Space, yeah, maybe you're brave, boy, you're my weakness. Giving we take, the love that we make, it's my favorite drug. Too caught up in your love. I've been trying to forget.
If you want to try out this piping technique, I recommend rolling a bunch of balls that are all equal in size, placing them each onto the nail, creating a bit of a like shell shape, and then gently indenting them, and not in the center. You'll see me do it in the center a couple times. Instead, indent it like 1/3 of the way in on either side. Awful, or is it kind of like experimental and cute? Okay, I think I'm gonna go for it. I'm curing, no turning back. I ended up redoing the cake and painting the inside of the mold before putting the jewelry resin in because the paint just stuck better to it rather than trying to paint it afterwards. Here I'm just finally top coating everything and blotting off any excess to keep the texture of the different nails.